Okay, today we're going to talk about something important, which is subject-verb agreement. And this is a very natural progression from our previous lesson, which was on verb conjugation. So in this lesson, you're going to learn how to make the subject and the verb agree in an English sentence. Okay? The subject tells us who or what the sentence is about. Okay? The verb portion tells us what the subject does or what the subject is. Okay? By the end of this lesson, you're going to understand how to choose the correct verb form based on the subject of the sentence. Okay? In English, the subject and the verb, they have to match or it doesn't sound right. Okay? That means that if the subject is singular, the verb must match a singular subject. Okay? If the subject is plural, meaning more than one, the verb also must match a plural subject. Let me give you an example. I wrote it here. The boy runs. Okay? The boy is singular. It's just one boy. He runs. We put an S on the end of run. Okay? Now, when we're dealing with a plural subject, boys, meaning more than one, the boys run. There is no S on the end. Okay? You see the difference. The boys are more than one person, so we say the boys run. Okay? This is a perfect example of subject-verb agreement. Okay? Now, for a singular subject, this means that we're talking about one person, one place, one thing, or one idea. Okay? The student, my friend, the teacher, the car, the house, or the lesson. Okay? When we use the present simple tense, a singular subject usually takes a verb with an S or ES on the end. Okay? So I could say the student, being one, studies. Okay? That's the word study with an IES replacing the Y. My friend works. The teacher explains. The car moves. Okay, the lesson begins. Okay, listen to the pattern. One student studies. One friend works. One teacher explains. Okay? When the subject is one person or one thing, the verb usually changes. Okay? Now, a plural subject means we're talking about more than one person, more than one place, thing, or idea. Okay? For example, the students, my friends, the teachers, the cars, the houses, the lessons, all more than one. Okay? With plural subjects, we usually use the simple form of the verb. Okay? We don't have to add anything to the end. Okay? For example, the students, being more than one, right? The students study. My friends work. The teachers explain. The cars move. And the lessons begin. Notice the difference. The student studies. The students, being more than one, study. Okay? The teacher, singular, explains. The teachers explain. The car moves. The cars move. The subject changes in this case, so the verb changes as well, okay? Now, let's look at the pronouns he, she, and it, okay? These are all singular subjects. So in the present simple tense, we usually add s or es to the verb. For example, he works, she studies, it rains, he teaches, she watches, it happens. Okay? We wouldn't say he work or she study or it rain. We would say he works, she studies, it rains. Okay? Remember, with he, she, and it, the verb usually needs s or es on the end. Okay? Now we can also look at I, you, we, and they. With these subjects, we usually use the simple form of the verb. Okay, for example, I work, you work, we work, they work. I study, you study, we study, they study. I speak English, you speak English, we speak English, they speak English. Okay? Now, you do not add s after these subjects. Okay? So it would be incorrect to say, I works, you speaks, we studies, okay, they goes. The correct way would be to say, I work, you speak, we study, they go. Okay? Now, sometimes the subject is a noun, okay, a person, place, or thing. And sometimes the subject is a pronoun, okay? A noun is a word like student, teacher, car, book, company, or city. A pronoun is a word like I, you, he, she, it, we, they. Okay? Note the difference. Nouns, pronouns. Okay? For example, we would say the student studies, or he studies. The students, plural, study. They study. Okay? Notice the difference, the change to the verb. The teacher explains. Okay? They explain. So when you're not sure which verb to use, the first thing you have to ask yourself is the subject singular or is it plural? Is it one person or is it two? Okay? Now let's look at the verb to be. This verb is very important because it changes more than most English verbs, okay? We say things like I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, we are, they are, okay? Let me give you some examples. I am ready. You are ready. He is ready. She is ready. It is ready. Okay? We are ready. They are ready. Okay? With nouns, we say the student is ready. The students, plural, are ready. The lesson is easy. The lessons are easy. Okay, do you see the difference between the is and the are? The lesson is easy and the lessons are easy. Okay, the book is on the table. The books are on the table. The subject and the verb still need to agree. Okay, one student is ready, but many students are ready. Okay, now let's look at the verb to have. Okay, this verb, it also changes. I have, you have, he has, she has, it has, we have, they have. She has a question. It has a problem. We have time. They have homework. Okay? With nouns, we say the student has a question. But we say the students have questions. The company has a website. The companies, plural, have websites. One student has a question, has a question. Many students have questions, okay? Now, sometimes a sentence has two subjects joined by the word and, okay? For example, Tom and Maria work together. Here we're talking about two people, Tom and Maria. The subject is plural. We say Tom and Maria work together, not Tom and Maria works together, okay? My brother and sister live in Ontario. The teacher and the student speak English. The book and the pen are on the table. When two subjects are joined by and, we usually use a plural verb, okay? Now let's look at subjects joined by the word or, one or the other. When we use the verb, when we use or, the verb usually agrees with the subject closest to the verb. This can be a little bit confusing. But for example, the teacher or the students, okay, are coming. Now, you've got two in there. You've got the teacher, singular, or the students, plural, okay, are coming. So the subject closest to the verb is the students, okay? And it's plural, okay? The students or the teacher is coming. The word closest to the verb is teacher, which is singular, so we say is coming. Now, this pattern can feel a little difficult at first, so for now, try to remember this simple idea. With or, look at the subject that's closest to the verb you're using, okay? I know that takes practice, but you'll eventually start to think of it this way, and this will just come naturally. Some nouns refer to a group of people or things, and these are called collective nouns. For example, a team, a family, a class, a group, a company, or a committee, okay? Now, in American English, collective nouns are usually treated as singular, okay? The team is ready. The family lives here. The class begins at 9. The company has many employees. Even though a team, it has many people, the word team is one group. So it's treated as a singular verb. Or sorry, we use a singular verb, okay? The team is ready, not the team are ready. However, now when we look at some forms of British English, people sometimes use plural verbs with collective nouns. But for this lesson, we're going to use the singular form because it's the most common and the safest choice for speaking standard English. Okay? So let's look at sentences that begin with there. Okay? There is a book on the table. There are books on the table. Okay? One is using is, one is using are. Okay? There is a book, singular. There are books, plural. In these sentences, the real subject comes after the verb. Okay? If we're talking about one thing, we use there is. Okay? There is a student in the room. There is a problem. There is a lesson today. Now, if we're talking about more than one thing, we use there are. There are students in the room. There are problems. There are many lessons today. Okay? So, there is, that's one thing. There are more than one thing. Okay? Now, this idea of subject-verb agreement, it also matters when you're asking questions. Okay? For example, does he work? Do they work? Okay? We use does when we're talking about he, she, it, and singular nouns, okay? For example, does she speak English? Does he live here? Does the teacher know? Now, we use do with I, you, we, they, plural pronouns, okay? For example, do you speak English? Do they live here? Do the students understand? Okay? Notice something important here. When we use does, D-O-E-S, the main verb does not take an S, okay? Does he work? You would not say, does he works? Okay? Does she speak English? Not, does she speaks English? Okay? The S is already inside of does, so we don't add it again to the main verb. Okay? You're also going to see subject-verb agreement appearing in negative sentences. Okay, we use words like does not or doesn't with he, she, and it. For example, he does not work on Sunday. She doesn't speak French. The student does not understand. Okay? We use do not or don't, okay, with I, you, we, they, and plural nouns. For example, I do not work on Sunday. You don't speak French. They do not understand. The students don't have class today. So again, after does not or doesn't, we use the simple form of the main verb. So the correct way is she doesn't work. Okay? So now let's do a little bit of practice, okay? We're going to choose the correct verb. The student, English. Okay? The answer is the student studies English. Now try this one. The students, English. Okay? Now the answer is the students study English. She, to work every day. Okay? The answer is she goes to work every day. They, to work every day. The answer, they go to work every day. Okay? So now let's practice with to be. The book on the table. The answer is the book is on the table. The books, plural, on the table. The answer is the books are on the table. So a common mistake is using a plural verb with a singular subject. So examples of incorrect statements are the student study English. He work every day. The car move fast. Okay? The correct way to say this was the student studies English. He works every day. The car moves fast. Another common mistake is using a singular verb with a plural subject. Okay? The incorrect way to say it would be the students studies English, or they works every day, or the cars moves fast. The correct way would be to say the students study English. They work every day. The cars move fast. Another common mistake happens when you're asking questions. So the wrong way to say it would be, does she works here? The right way would be to say, does she work here? Okay? Another common mistake happens in negative sentences, okay? The wrong way to say it would be, he doesn't likes coffee. You would say, he doesn't like coffee. Okay? So let's do a final review of what you learned. Subject-verb agreement means the subject and the verb, they have to match. They have to go together, okay? If the subject is singular, the verb usually takes s or es in the present simple tense. For example, the student studies, he works, she speaks. Now, if the subject is plural, the verb usually stays in the simple form. For example, the students study, they work, we speak. Okay? With the verb to be, remember, I am, he is, she is, it is, you are, we are, they are. Okay? With the verb to have, remember, he has, she has, it has, I have, you have, we have, they have. Subject-verb agreement is one of the most important rules in English, okay? When your subject and verb agree, your sentences sound clearer, more natural, okay, and are ultimately correct, okay?